this weekend, two big-time prospects that I got super excited about when I got back into MMA, and it's panned out to UFC records of 4-4 for the nearly 36-year-old Damir Hadzovic and 6-5 for Marc Diakiese. And Matt, to give a little bit of a backstory, we were MMA fans 2008, 2009, Shogun Rua, Lyoto Machida, Georges St. Pierre, childhood idols. Then I dropped out of it near the end of high school. And then as I got back into it, 2016-17, that's when Damir Hadzovic and Marc Diakiese became known to the UFC fans. And listen, I got excited about the Teemu Packalén knockout. I got excited about a fight with Dan, against Dan Hooker. But when it really does come down to it, it feels nice to me to be able to pat myself on the back and do a damn victory lap with all you Fight Night Picks fans who thought I was some turkey for taking Marc Diakiese back earlier on this year when he was taking on Vyacheslav Borshev. I had Diakiese and I felt great. But I will say this, Matt. Marc Diakiese tried to take a victory lap after that fight, and they gave him Damir Hadzovic. He was so high and mighty after beating Vyacheslav Borshev by taking him down. And granted, all three judges scored at 30-27. He landed 11 of 18 takedowns and had 12 minutes and 24 seconds of control time. But the trouble is, like, A, what do you get out of that? You beat a hot prospect in a non-appealing way. And B, Matt, did it surprise you that Marc Diakiese was able to be that dominant with his wrestling?
It was always a wrinkle of his game that you kind of knew was there, but it was never something he was able to convincingly win a fight with throughout 15 minutes. But that's been the good thing about Marc Diakiese. I do feel like he has grown as a mixed martial artist from when we did see him and kind of remember him for that Teemu Packalén knockout, because that was an incredible one-shot KO. If people forget that, I highly recommend going back and watching. But you also have to remember the really tough 3-fight losing streak he immediately went on after that. He broke his foot against Drakkar Klose. I'll always remember that. That was just a weird fight because...
And that was just a split decision loss too, right?
It was, but I still feel like Klose is able to win that one. Dan Hooker and him had a fun fight until he did get caught in that submission, but Nasrat Haqparast beat the shit out of him. And that's a nice way of saying it if we're being completely honest. And I had kind of written him off going into that Joe Duffy fight, but Diakiese, he showed a new wrinkle of his game. He was a kickboxer. Then he had elbows all of a sudden. He was able to drop Joe Duffy with a really nice elbow. He started using his wrestling a little bit more in that fight. And then against Lando Venata, we saw a lot more of that wrestling game.
Who would have thought that? He completely out-wrestled Lando Venata.
And Venata was another one of these guys who started out very much known as being a striker, who then added the wrestling more to his game as he progressed further. I know he had wrestling earlier on in his career, but he had gone away from it for a little while. So it was really nice to see Diakiese go out there and beat another guy who can get the takedown himself. And then he fought Fiziev, and that's tough. Let's just be honest. Fiziev was able to outclass him.
Fight of the night.
It was a fight of the night, but still, Fiziev was able to outclass him on the feet. And the Alves loss was a really bad one. So that's the thing for Diakiese. More than anybody on this card, it's what version of him do you get? Because when he is the mixed martial artist who can threaten with his strikes, even though that's the thing, I'm starting to think that Marc Diakiese's strikes are more... You're worried about the potential of them more than you should actually be the strikes themselves. Because at this point, Diakiese hasn't hurt anyone on the feet in a meaningful period of time. And that is a little bit concerning because we knew him for the speed and the power so early on in his career that I'm really surprised that he hasn't been able to have that same level of success on the feet. Now, it's great that he's been able to expand his game, but I wonder if him focusing on the grappling has taken away from his striking somewhat.
Yeah, and that's one of those ones, like, you look at Marc Diakiese, and I said, like, this is a guy that I followed very closely since he came into the UFC. He was one of those prospects that 2016-17, you're watching him, you're watching Sage Northcutt, you're watching Paige Van Zandt, you're getting excited for all these fighters that didn't necessarily pan out for what you expected. But when I look at Diakiese, used to train an American Top Team, made the move over. He's since training at home or closer to home over in the UK. But when I do look at this, Matt, for Damir Hadzovic, we haven't really talked about him, but he has really good striking defense, and it's backed up by the numbers, 62% striking defense. But when you watch Damir Hadzovic, really, really high guard, and he does block a lot of shots with his arms. He does move quite well with the shots, and he can roll with some of those body shots, and he brings his guard right back up. But when I look at it, out of having your hands so damn high and being known as a little bit of a brawler, like pretty much a brawler, 37% takedown defense in the UFC, and that's accentuated by Christos Giagos taking him down on 6 of 13 attempts, Alain Patrick getting him down on 9 of 15 back when Alain was the hotness, and Marcin Held went 4-4 before Damir Hadzovic knocked him out. So I do look at it as, when you watch Damir Hadzovic fight, he's heavy on his boxing. when he gets you backed up against the cage, he unloads. He'll go to the head. He'll go to the body. He throws a ton of power. He throws with speed. He throws with aggression. He's light on kicks, but if you go back and watch his last fight against Yancy Medeiros, he starts that fight off by throwing a good 10 leg kicks hard, and then he kind of turns it down a little bit. But career-wise, he's not this big kicker. But again, I do look at this as, Matt, like Damir Hadzovic, he's all over the damn place in terms of his consistency with his performances. He's got a welterweight loss to Krzysztof Jotko in 2012 that I find interesting. He does, again, very well with his body to head combos. But when it comes to grappling, like, it makes sense that Damir Hadzovic was a bodybuilder before he became a mixed martial artist, because when he took on Renato Moicano and he got taken down, and then he got mad that Renato took him down and wanted to grapple, like, what? I didn't expect this. We were supposed to strike. I didn't sign up for this.
You wouldn't want to call like a pickup foul on Damir Hadzovic. You know,
no,
like
he probably plays basketball like Khabib. He just runs around.
Like, he'd just do like a flagrant 2, pull you down to the ground and be like, what? And you're not going to say anything. That's Damir Hadzovic. So yeah, probably not the coolest dude to play pickup hoops with. But here's the thing. He's so one note in MMA, and there is a stiffness to his game. He is a brawler, but he doesn't have this flexibility that a lot of other natural strikers are known for. And that does get him caught because he is sort of lungy with some of his strikes. And against a guy like Diakiese, I do think Diakiese is the faster guy on the feet, even though I do worry about where his power is at this stage of his career. Because like I said, it's been a while since he's been able to hurt anyone on the feet. I think Joe Duffy was the last guy we hurt standing at least. So for Diakiese, I just think he's the more well-rounded guy. And for Hadzovic, we've never seen him make the evolution. Like, you can go through losses and come back and have wins, but if you're just getting wins the same way that you were before you suffered those losses, did you really learn anything from those losses in the first place? I don't think Hadzovic is some different fighter than he was before he suffered his losses to Giagos and Moicano, whereas Diakiese, even though he suffered more losses against the upper echelon of the division, I do think he normally comes back learning a new thing about his own game because of those losses, and I think that's really going to be the key to this matchup.
It's another rich pairing. I mean, Matt, Diakiese open to minus 300, minus 327 right now. Hadzovic open plus 250, plus 259. I don't like Marc Diakiese as a 3-1 favorite in any fight. So if we have a look at the Tapology vote, surprise that's there to you. I'm going to say over under. Again, another big favorite. I'm going to say 75% Diakiese.
I got to be honest, I saw so much support for Marc Diakiese on the internet this week and over the weekend that I'm going to say over, just because it was insane the amount of other people who make predictions and picks who have picked Marc Diakiese.
91% of 1178
I don't get it.
Have Diakiese to win 78% by decision for the 9% that have Hadzovic, 63% by decision, 22% by knockout. Guys, if Damir Hadzovic beats Marc Diakiese, knocks him out in the first round. Like, we've seen Marc Diakiese knock him out, drag him out type of fight, Rafael Alves, and he gets finished. Like, he will wrestle himself into bad positions and you could submit him. He will try and lunge in to do different things and he can get hit. And if you look at it for Damir Hadzovic, he loves that step-in knee and he likes step-in elbows as well. So if you like Hadzovic, this is a perfect opportunity for him to go in and finish Marc Diakiese. Now, back to my point from last week, I like to take the more well-rounded guy. I say this before the Schnell fight, and then I take Sumit Ergi. In this matchup, I like the more well-rounded guy, Marc Diakiese. I like his wrestling. I like the fact that he can wear down a guy like Damir Hadzovic, just like he was able to do against Slava Borshev his last time out. So for that reason, I have Diakiese. But, like, I mean, Damir Hadzovic by finish, maybe it's on the table.
I don't see there being a big avenue for Hadzovic getting the win here. And this is the only reason. He has good striking, but again, his last knockout win was over Polo Reyes, a guy who's known for being on the receiving end of posters. He's like Anderson Varejao at this point of his career. Like, people only remember the curly hair and Dwayne Wade dunking on him. So I just don't think Hadzovic is at that level. I know he had the win over Yancy. Yancy looked good against Emmanuel Sanchez, who's basically a featherweight who is moving up to lightweight, fighting a welterweight who was fighting at lightweight. So I'm not that impressed by a win over Yancy Medeiros, if I'm being completely honest. And I do think Diakiese, if things aren't going well for him on the feet, he will be able to get that takedown. And I do think it'll be as simple as that, because Hadzovic has not shown any ability to improve his own takedown defense throughout the UFC up until this point.
You've got Hadzovic out of Arte Suave training with another guy who's on this card, in a guy who I like, but most don't. It's Nicolas Dalby, Matt. In this fight, both of us going with Marc Diakiese to get the win. I'm excited about it. The next fight that's on this card, Mason Jones taking on Leavitt Klein. I know a lot of people are very excited about that one. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. And as we always say, let's get into it.